This is Eric Bill, owner of Bill's on Broadway here in Boise, Idaho. You're listening to Native as I Can Be with my best friend and ultimate El Guapo, Geno Ray.
Who's the podcast host that you love the most? Coming to you live from coast to coast. Call me Thunder Lip, Spaceman, or G. It's just me being native as I can be.
Ladies and gentlemen, part 2.
So what would you say to somebody that if someone came to you and maybe just wanted to use faith to solve their problem, or they wanted you to just pray for them, would you try to go, yeah, I can pray for you, and here's something would you do something like that?
I think not initially. I mean, of course I'd pray for them. Like I pray for anybody if I have permission or not.
Yeah.
Like after a national tragedy happened, my friend put on Facebook, he's keep your damn prayers. And I just put, no. It's like, I'll do whatever the hell I want to.
Yeah.
So yeah, I pray for people. But I think what I'd start with is talk to them about what they mean by faith. Like what are they struggling with? I'd want to contextualize it quite a bit. And, when you think about Jesus, in Christian theology, we don't believe Jesus was just a good teacher, but that he was, in some sense, God. And the word we use that is incarnation. And so, like chili con carne, it's chili with meat. So
Yeah.
Jesus incarnate, it's like God with meat. So we believe God actually put meat on and became a human being and walked around and taught us stuff. And so I think basically everything that happens in life is embodied. Even in grace sometimes, like the way God decided to communicate to us. We couldn't speak God, so he decided to speak human, And so if I talk to somebody, they say faith, they say problems, they say all this stuff, I kind of want to see what kind of meat is on that. Like what does that look like? And whatever the situation is, that would give me clues on how it can be helpful to them.
Yeah.
And I think
Would you say you're challenging them a little bit, or just wanting them to elaborate? Or
yeah, I think I'm looking for understanding.
Mhm.
Every time I meet with people, I think there's this view of Christians that they're just pissed off at everybody and that God hates everybody until they fall into line. And now maybe God will like them for at least a little bit and will like you too. I don't really take that approach. Mine is more like, I think God is always working everywhere because we believe God's everywhere and he created everything. And the Bible says he wants to reconcile everything back to himself, and make things to where there's no suffering, no sorrow again, all that. So, I mean, my perspective is God actually likes us and he made us on purpose and he wants good things for us.
Yeah.
And so, when I meet with a person, I assume God's already been working in their life before I've gotten there. And so when I talk to them, it's not about me fixing their life or teaching them the truth or, being an expert or whatever. I kind of want to see, the analogy I use all the time is I want to see what wave God has already started and then go surf that with the person. But I feel like if I have a concept of what their life should be like and I try and impose that on them, I feel like I'm just jumping in the shallow water and slapping the water like an idiot trying to make a wave. So rather than slapping around, the questions, it's not necessarily a challenge, although that can be included. For me, it's more figuring out how God's grace is already working in their life and where the wave's already at. And then we'll catch that wave together.
Mhm.
And if I can, I'll teach them how to surf a little bit. But it's their wave to surf,
Right.
And I think God wants everybody surfing. Like I think he loves us and he wants things to be good for us. Yeah, so that's kind of more my philosophy, my approach.
Yeah.
That's why it kind of depends on the context of the person and how their life situation has played out so far. I kind of want to see what God's already doing and then try and join that work if I can for the good of the person I'm trying to help.
Yeah. Yeah. Because you're not really looking to stroke your ego and be right in the situation. You're trying to further them along, whatever that looks like. Yeah.
And usually God has shown them like what should be important to them and what further along means.
Yeah.
So it's like I don't even determine the goal for them. Like God's probably already done that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So do you get people that are non-religious that come in for a counseling or such?
Yeah, and a lot of it's impromptu because, like you said, I do jujitsu a lot, and I do a bunch of other things too. And so I've always had a lot of friends outside of the church as well. But for some reason, sometimes they'll want to confide in me and kind of just get support.
Yeah.
So yeah, I actually interact with lots of people around serious issues, and some of them are non-religious people who prefer speaking to a pastor than a secular counselor, which is actually kind of common. Because their impression is secular counselors, they're antagonistic towards spirituality, which generally is not true, but that's the perception, is that secular counselors are antagonistic to spirituality or incompetent with it.
Yeah.
And they just kind of have this general sense that religious counselors will be more moral, and if spirituality comes up, they'll be better with it. Again, that's the general perception. It's not necessarily true at all.
Yeah.
But that's kind of, so people tend to feel more comfortable. Most people will go to a pastor for counseling. This is becoming less true over time, but they'll tend to be more open to go to a pastor for counseling than an actual counselor.
Wow.
And so that happens to me quite a bit too, where I get people who don't come to my church who want to meet with me and just kind of need some help with stuff.
Why do you think that? Sorry, I just switched gears rapidly, but why do you think that there's like Japanese men and Native men, a lot of men, just like there's like this, quiet suffering that we do. And I know I do it too, even though I have this relationship with the one and do counseling, but there's still a lot of stuff that I'm just bottling up. Like,
Yeah.
is it, do you think that's sort of starting to shift? I know a lot of people our age and above, that's definitely how we roll.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think there's a few factors in it, and I try and counter that in my church a lot. Like in my church, which is unusual in Christian churches because they tend to be pretty feminine, but I have a lot of men's groups where men get together, they talk about stuff, they support each other. So, but that's actually unusual in my experience. So I think a few things. Part of it is our wiring. Men and women really are different from an early age. And part of that wiring is there's a book that talks about how children play when they have free play.
Right.
And if there's no, recess duties, no adults getting in their face, they just play. And their games are totally different. Just absolutely. And we know this if we sit at a playground for 10 minutes watching kids, they just play different.
Yeah.
So girls tend to play in a way to where it's relational and they preserve the relationship. And there's not really an exterior goal. It seems like the goal is the relationship.
Yeah.
So they tend to play house. And if mommy and daddy get in a fight in the house, they'll tend to change the game. Okay, we're not playing house anymore. We're going to play something else. They do that. So that's how girls tend to play. And of course, this is, I'm speaking in general terms. And then when boys tend to play, they tend to play basically simulated hunting or war games. Like they'll split into teams, they'll kick the ball around. It's basically they're warring over something or they're hunting something. And then when they have conflict, they don't change the game. They tend to fight.
Yeah.
And they tend to find out who's in charge or not. And then after they fight, they keep playing the same game. And it's oriented around a goal instead.
Yeah.
And so from a very early age, and this is cross-cultural, by the way. So this is independent of, it seems to be innately biological to a large degree. That, and I think it makes sense from an evolutionary biological standpoint, but girls tend to relate a lot and preserve relationship and have very complicated relationship games. Boys and eventually men tend to organize around a task, and our relationship games are not as complex. They're just different. They're much more simple. And so I think what that leads to, though, is because as the wiring part of it is, I think at men, because we tend not to be as good at the relational part of it and sharing ourselves. And you don't want to show weakness when you're a kid, because that's an easy way to get bullied. I think that teaches us kind of biologically to keep it in and not to share it as much as maybe women do. But then the cultural component on top of that, I think, is it's men are expected to be competent especially by other men, are expected to be competent and strong.
Yeah.
And so strong, not just strong enough to handle our own crap or competent to provide for ourselves, but we're expected to be able to provide for a family, to suffer more than women and children, to carry more burdens. So I think that's an aspect. And then I think humans in general are just bad listeners. I think men have tried to share before with other men and with women. And I think they didn't get the reaction or support they were hoping for.
Right.
And I think women, again, are better at the support piece of it with other women, but they tend not to be so good at it with men. And then men aren't the best at it with each other. And so I think sometimes culturally as well, we get the heavy end of the stick in terms of not emotional suffering, but the kind of emotional suffering you're talking about.
Yeah.
Where we just kind of swallow the poison all the time and just hope we don't die.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Really, I got a friend named Noah, and he's got 2 daughters, and he's 40 or 41. And we've had this discussion many times about we're both trying to be up to date, where we can talk about how we're feeling and we can be receptive to how, and he's, got a house full of girls, so it's a little different, and be receptive to other people's emotions and listening and all that. And then we also have this, like, can you just shut up and just get it done? Why, why does this have to, why are we even having this discussion? We could already be done with it. And I don't think
kick the
that's
light on real quick.
okay. And like, I don't think either, it's just a very tough, like, my stepson McCunny is a senior now, and he's had problems all through high school. I mean, school is just not a good fit for this kid. It doesn't matter what school it is. He's just not wired for it, even though he's incredibly smart. But, and so the school has been very generous in accommodating his learning disabilities and things like that. But there's still that part of me where I'm like, just get it done. Just finish it and get it done. I'm so sick of having the same lecture at the end of every single semester where you're behind because and like, but that's a very dated concept. I think there's value to it. And I do think that the pendulum can swing too far where there's too much accommodation to where you're accommodating so much they can't do anything. And unfortunately, I think we've came close to that mark, but just, you have to be able to handle some suffering if you're going to be an adult in the real world. And so, yeah, that's where me and him are at always. Just be open, be available, but at some point you also just have to be able to handle whatever is being thrown at you.
Yeah. I think child rearing has changed a lot in the last generation or so as well. And I think it's I don't think it's controversial, but I'll say it anyway. I'm worried. I don't want to alienate anybody, but it's like a vast majority of the helping professions are women. And it's because we have more freedom for women to choose their professions, which is fantastic. But a lot more women like being nurses than engineers. You know what I mean? And so they end up being nurses and a lot of mental health counselors and educators. And so with the people we entrust kind of our mental health and education to, we have this very strong maternal instinct, which is fantastic. But sometimes that takes away from how boys naturally might handle things. So for example, boys cannot fight in school anymore. Like there's pretty severe repercussions if boys fight, where that's a lot of times that's part of how boys handle things. Yeah. So we say, well, violence is always wrong. Well, that's true, but humans are animals and boys are especially violent animals. Yeah. We were boys once, we know. So I think, sometimes we impose, a lot of the maternal instinct on how boys should grow up. And so sometimes it ends up coddling them. Yeah. I think we made the reverse mistake in the past where we didn't care for boys enough. We just kind of threw them to the wolves and okay, hopefully they won't die. But that was, I mean, both of us, we just left that house and we came back whenever. And you know what I mean, that was just that. So there was almost no supervision. But I think because particularly in the way kids grow up in different systems now, boys and men don't learn how to relate to each other very well anymore. And so when we grow up, we've learned that all aggression is bad. So we don't know how to be assertive. And a famous definition of depression, I think it was Freud said, is depression is anger turned inward.
Mm.
You know, if we're not externalizing it, we turn it inward, and then it eventually manifests as depression. And there's a lot of basically boys who are growing up without friends. And of course, there's more than this. You know, there's also like social media and the way all that has changed. COVID was crazy. So a lot of things have changed. But I think basically boys don't know how to have friends very well anymore. Or as they grow, they don't know how to have friends. So they don't know how to relate on this level where I get with you and I tell you in what way I'm about to break.
Yeah.
And you can help me carry it. Like it's just a skill we don't have anymore. And there's a bunch of different reasons for it. But yeah, I think kind of the biology, the cultural developments that have kind of happened. And there's no way for boys to become men anymore. We kind of are supposed to be docile and not safe in the sense of we're powerful and strong, but we don't hurt people with it. Safe in the sense of harmless, which does not make men feel fulfilled.
Right.
You know, so the competence you're talking about, just get it done. I think some of that, it would be helpful if some of that did come back into, you know, we raise boys and how men relate to each other.
Yeah.
Sometimes I don't care how you feel about it. Finish the job. You feel accomplished. And now you know you can accomplish jobs even when you're suffering. And that knowledge is going to serve you well in every area of life moving forward because you know you can do stuff.
Yeah.
While also teaching them, but you don't have to do it alone. Like, we're together. You can talk about how you're feeling. You can be vulnerable because strong men know how to be vulnerable and be honest about their emotional life. But yeah, and again, I'm it's not just the genders. Like humans in general are just bad at listening to each other. Like a common thing I see in my counseling practice is somebody will come to me and say, "Yeah, well, I tried to tell them how they feel, and then they just attacked me." And so I wasn't.
They tried to tell them how they feel.
Yeah. So it's a lot of times a guy will come in and he'll say, you know, I just don't tell her how I feel anymore. Well, why not? He'll say, well, I'll come into the room and she's not upset, but I am. I'll tell her how I feel. Then she gets upset. And then we end up talking about how upset she is and I'm consoling her.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I went to her for comfort and now I'm comforting her. And then she never checks it back out of me. So it's just not worth it. You know?
Yeah.
And that happens in both directions. Like I know guys who are dumbasses don't know how to listen to their wives either.
Yeah.
But I think because people in general just aren't good at listening, we learn not to go to other people. And I think because women are more sophisticated relationally, men, we tend to give up on that project a lot earlier than women do.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, we kind of suffer in silence and isolation, which is super dangerous.
Yeah, for sure. You start turning into an incel and yeah, it's tricky too. And McConey is, you know, he's my stepson, but I've been his stepdad for 9 years now.
Yeah.
And so I missed the first 8 years. His dad is gone. But, you know, the role of a step-parent, at least the role I've been playing, is that of backup. And I am more willing to just kind of let Laura go, let her kind of steer that ship. And it can be tough because I don't always agree. I don't, you know, it's like, or even if I'm steering the ship for a while, it's still her map, you know?
Yeah.
And there's been some times and me and her have had arguments with each other about him because I'm in that mindset, like he should just be doing it. Like, we are, you know, there's too much of this. And, you know, and the mindset of, I will look at him and I'm like, dude, we're in a brand new 6-bedroom house and we have 2 new cars, and your mom, this is Laura, not me. I'm still driving a forklift. She's the baller in the relationship. But like, but I'm looking at what he has. I'm like, you have so much. You have the opposite of what I had as a kid.
Yeah.
And then when he's, acting, I won't say acting depressed, when he is depressed or he's struggling, and I get into this mindset, like, what's the problem, dude? Like, how much easier does this need to be for you?
Yeah.
But I don't, that's me applying my childhood to his, and it's not a fair comparison. It's 2 completely different worlds. The kids don't relate to each other the same. The school is not the same. Everything's different. And his formidable years, like you mentioned, were during COVID. He was isolated from 13 to 16.
Yeah.
And it affected him harshly. But yeah, it's tough, man. And there's that kind of like, I kind of wish there was a little more knucklehead in it. I wish there was a little more, because that was one of the things. He had some bully, and we were talking about it. Well, what do you think he should do? I was like, sock him in the mouth. Like, she's like, beyond that I'm like, that's what he needs.
Yeah.
And it would make McConaughey feel better. So he gets suspended for a couple of days. Who cares? Like,
yeah. And after they fight, he probably gets a new best friend, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So, but yeah, man, parenting is wild, and Che is very sensitive, but he's also so physically tough. Like, all he wants to do is wrestle, and like, but now he's like 60 pounds. He's just like this little brick house, and so I'm like, dude, easy. Like, but like, if I talk to him, a certain kind of way, like, it's just, and I actually think it's a good balance for him. Like,
that's cool. And since we're talking about like mental health and the clinical perspective too, I think another mistake we've made as a culture is we kind of, what's the word for it? We don't allow for kind of normal life anymore. Like, everything that causes any kind of mental distress is immediately a diagnosis. Growing up is just hard, man. Relating to other people is just hard. This life is a significant amount of suffering. There's normal ups and downs. And so yeah, I think if an adolescent feels awkward, that means they're an adolescent.
Yeah.
It doesn't always need a diagnosis. It always needs support and care and love. But I think again, the pop psychology of it is because diagnosing is becoming very popular. You have kids getting online, diagnosing themselves and pretending like it's a real diagnosis, and then they go with a label, and it kind of provides a rationale for them staying the same.
Yeah.
Like, this problem is something that's just brain chemistry, or there's a diagnosis. When no, you just broke up with your girlfriend and it sucks, and you're talking like you're suicidal, but you're not. This is what happens. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think we're so neurotic as parents now that a lot of times when we parent our children, we're not actually managing our children, we're managing our own anxieties. And so a lot of times we soothe the children actually to soothe ourselves.
Yeah.
And so I think it gives us a sense of control when everything has a diagnosis, or there's a label for it.
Yeah.
It's a mental health problem, where sometimes they just need spaces to get their asses kicked a little bit. You got to monitor it, make sure it doesn't get too dangerous.
Yeah.
That's how kids grow. And if they never get to do that, they're going to have to figure it out at some point. And it's better for them to experience that part of life under the watchful eye of parents in a home and as an adolescent, instead of figuring it out in the 30s when they're out in the world on their own.
Right.
The consequences tend to be bigger then.
Right. Yeah. And I also think that we're not that many generations removed from, kids actually having a childhood.
Yeah,
And,
absolutely.
we're talking about grandparents or great grandparents working in fields and factories and not even having a childhood. So, and we're in this era of parenting where, I've talked to more about parenting with Laura or some of the other dads I've met than my mom probably talked to anybody in the entirety of her life. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, and I love talking to dads because I'm still kind of this island unto myself where I don't really have very many friends. I have a lot of acquaintances, but like I meet a dad and it's, once we get past the boring, like, what route do you take to work kind of bullshit, like, and we get into like the frustrations of being a parent, like, then I'm like, this is whatever,
Exactly.
Can we get out of the small talk and just get, like, yeah, parenting is a trip, dude.
And I think one other false impression that mental health has given pop culture is that there's a solution for everything. Most problems don't have a solution, and there's no perfect way to do anything that prevents suffering. I mean, you do an adequate job, which is usually giving your best.
Yeah.
And it's almost always enough. But we really think if we just have the accumulation of proper techniques, we can raise our children in a way they don't suffer, but they become flourishing human beings. And actually, suffering tends to be the way we become flourishing human beings. So
Right.
we want this third option that's impossible, where our children never experience distress, but they become mature and capable of handling all distress, which is impossible to do.
Yeah.
So there's no perfect parenting. We all suck at it. But hopefully we don't suck so much that it like ruins our kids. They usually turn out pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think I figured out that, Che doesn't need me to be right. Che just needs me.
Yeah.
And
it's the connection that does the work, right? Totally. Yeah.
Because he already has it all figured out if you were to ask him. So he doesn't need me. He just needs me to reach the high stuff and drive him where he needs to go. But, like, I've used this and out. Like, I've been, my work basketball team is about to start up. And I've been playing basketball my entire life. And I'm most of the time not even in the top 7 people on the court at basketball, right? And I've been working my ass off at it and just to be okay. But like with BAMS and with Che and to a degree with McConey, like sliding into fatherhood was the most natural thing that I've ever done. Like it was the thing where maybe not 100% of the time, but a lot of the time my instincts were right. Like, and that makes me feel less concerned about my own. I mean, I've never been a big career driven, like elevate to the next level, but it makes me less concerned with where I'm at and being accountable and there and present for him, because I feel like if I'm doing this right, he's going to be that level that jumps up. And so like that's why I love being a dad, because it's easier than being a mom. We don't get shit on nearly as much. But for me, it was an easy fit. And it just felt right. And it felt like I could do this. And I've been able to do it without the strong influence of my own dad as far as the day to day.
Right.
What I did get from my dad is being emotionally available to the kids, because he was always that. But yeah, dude, just the fit of being a dad was something that was natural, and it's such a good feeling.
It's weird the reactions we have, because I always wanted to be a dad as well. And I think in my head somewhere I was like, I wanted to be the present dad. My dad wasn't. So it's weird how our dads influence us, because I could have gone the direction of being the same as him, but he still influenced me. I wanted to be the opposite. But I think about, of course, all of our parents made tons of sacrifices for us, but I mean, you've given your kids a world you couldn't have even imagined as a kid. The sacrifices you've made, I just respect you a lot, man, because I know your background and the world your kids grew up in, they couldn't imagine or comprehend the one you grew up in. Like the amount of support and encouragement they have. Yeah, the way you're there for them. Yeah, they take it for granted, which is it's ungrateful. They're butt heads, but it's awesome that they just take it for granted. It's like it's just the water they grew up in. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's true. I mean, I coach Jay's basketball team, and I got my little shirt that says coach, and all the kids call me Coach G, and yeah, and I trip on it too, because I'm in this type of neighborhood I used to make fun of, like just the kind of neighborhood we would go drive around.
Yeah.
And be like, wow, wouldn't it be something if we lived in a neighborhood like this, these bougie ass people? And here's what's tight about my neighborhood though, dude. I love this neighborhood. It comes to a T, so there's no traffic in and out. And there's probably like 8 kids within a few years of Che's age. And there's a family from Rwanda. There's a family from Manila, but they grew up in Singapore. There's a family from Iran, a Vietnamese family. There's a country boy from Iowa. Like, it's a crazy diverse neighborhood with all these kids. And like, we just moved here in May, and everybody's like, Che is just fully in, and there's kids ringing the doorbell all day long. And I'm like, this is what I like, because I love to see him just out there running around. And there's always an adult, not supervising, but there's at least a couple adults out there making sure everything's. But I'm like, this is what this is amazing to watch this experience for him. So I'm glad we moved in this bougie ass neighborhood.
That's awesome.
Okay, I got a couple more, and then we can wrap it up. What would you say to somebody whose spiritual influences and mental health are divided? What would you say to them?
Divided in what way?
Just that they can't seem to find, like they don't think that those two things could be beneficial to each other. Like,
oh, gotcha.
Yeah, they just, they think it has to be one way or the other, or maybe they don't think one or the other will work, something like that.
Yeah. I think I'm still trying to help them as much as I can, but, different things are important to different people. And yeah, so if one person values their career more than their family, or they might decide not to have kids, like focus on career. We've decided to focus on family. That's important to us. So for some people, spirituality, religion is just not that important to them.
Yeah.
But what's interesting is when you break the religious impulse and human nature down, it still manifests itself in everybody, pretty much everybody. You might just call it something else. So, one way to conceive of religion and spirituality is, you have a God and you make sacrifices to that God, hoping that the God will bless you in some specific way. So you can think of a statue of a God. Somebody kills a chicken on an altar or something, or like a goat, and, they hope they get a good harvest, something like that.
Right.
We think, well, that's superstitious and primitive, and they didn't have science like we do.
Right.
But it's actually the exact same thing now, and maybe the exact same gods. So, for example, I have a friend, she spends tons of money on plastic surgery. Yeah. Like tons. And I don't judge her for it, because it's important for her to be beautiful. But why does she want to be beautiful? It's because she really wants to get the affections of any man, really, to make her feel seen and present in the world. And so, like in the ancient world, you might sacrifice something to the god of youth, Juvenal, hoping that it would bless you with something. And what you tend to do from a psychological perspective, speaking of religiosity, is the sacrifice you make gets the blessing from the God, and that blessing delivers you from whatever your personal version of hell is and takes you to heaven. So for her personal version of hell is not having a man pay her any attention, just being rejected by all men. That would be hell for her. But because she's wanted by men, that would be her heaven, is having not just a man, but all men kind of adore her. That's what she would like. And, there's reasons why she's ended up this way and why this is important to her. But again, I don't judge her for it, but the way she's decided to organize her life is she sacrifices tons of money, tons of time, tons of stress and attention.
Yeah.
She sacrifices to this God of youth so she can stay young longer than naturally would be possible. And that will deliver her from her hell of being alone and not having the affections of the opposite sex to her heaven of having men continue to adore her.
Yeah.
So her life has been organized around this relationship, this patronage relationship with a higher power. So when you think of religion in those terms, everybody's pretty much religious. It's just about finding out which God they worship, which sacrifices they make, what their version of hell is. And this all plays out psychologically. So when I speak to somebody and they kind of separate that, what they usually mean is, I don't go to church. I don't believe in God. I don't read the Bible. They kind of associate religion with just a couple activities or maybe a couple beliefs. But there's very few humans that don't have a religious impulse. It's almost maybe the same that don't have a moral impulse. So truly irreligious people might be about as common as sociopaths. You know what I mean? It seems to be abnormal in human psychology. So I wouldn't try and get them to go to the church or to memorize Bible verses or whatever. But I would still look at their life in terms of this is a human being who needs meaning and purpose in life. So they know how to make decisions in life and organize their life. And they still organize their life around a God and they make sacrifices to it. And that informs me about their heaven and hell and what their motivations are behind a lot of things. So I think taking the psychological substructure of religion and seeing how that plays out in people's everyday life, for me, it actually helps me as a clinician get a lot of insight into why people do what they do. So it's a long-winded answer, but they might separate it, but I basically never do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I still see it play out. And for me, truth isn't like some cosmic thing. I'm a pragmatist, So truth is how you behave. It's what you do. That tells me what you really believe.
Yeah.
I don't care what you're confessing at the altar. So,
Right.
so to me, almost everybody's religious.
Right. Yeah. That's an interesting take. I have not heard that one before. Okay, the last two questions, and then we can be done. So, what does your personal mental health routine look like? And then, just in a broader thing, just what kind of things are making you hopeful in the world right now?
That's good questions. Let's see, my own mental health routine. What's a good way to answer that? For me, I think I know my tendencies, so I try not to work too much, and I have to do a lot of physical stuff throughout the week because I'm just a physical person. I get grumpy and depressed if I can't do something aggressive physically throughout the week, and so I have to lift weights and I have to do martial arts. That's good for me, but I think not working too much, and then if I how do I phrase it? If I can just enjoy the gifts God has already given me, rather than trying to earn things I've already been gifted. You know what I mean? I think sometimes I fight for a piece I already have,
Right.
And it's bizarre that I do this, but I have a wife that I love.
Right.
And, I have kids that are amazing, and I have I grew up so poor, dude. Like I have way more than I ever imagined would be possible.
Right.
And I got the friends I can connect with. And God already loves me, being a Christian. I'm like, well, God already loves me. There's nothing I have to do to fix a relationship. Like that Jesus shows me. So it's like, what am I doing sometimes? Like, what am I fighting so hard for? It's like,
Right.
Usually for me, I'm still trying to prove to people who don't care about me there's a reason I exist. I'm like, what the hell am I doing? And so if I just remember how stupid that is, and I can be content and enjoy the good gifts God has already given me, then that fills my life with a lot of joy, a lot of gratitude I don't have to manufacture. I can't even stop it from coming out, So that helps a lot. So for me, that's a lot like pacing life correctly, not working too much, not being too stressed out. And especially having some physicality in my week. And then I always love being in a steep learning curve. So if I'm learning a new instrument or working on my art or reading a book on a subject I don't know much about or thinking through stuff, I enjoy all that quite a bit.
Yeah.
And then the most important thing to me, same as you, is family. So every Sunday night, my family comes over, we all eat, we all hang out, and they stay over way too long, and it's awesome.
Yeah.
So just being with them and seeing my grown kids enjoy my company,
Yeah.
and we just get to be together. That's pretty awesome for me too.
Yeah. We didn't really touch on it this episode, but your kids are a whole different type of mixed because Michelle is Latinx, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so they've got white, Japanese, and I think I remembered you saying before that even she has had she isn't as confident in the Latin community as somebody that was maybe raised in it, and so
yeah. My joke is I'm more brown than she is. Yeah, so she grew up half Mexican and half white, whatever European mix. I think it's mostly Swedish. No, it's mostly Swiss. One of the S countries in Europe. That's not Slovakia. And then I grew up half Japanese and half mostly Welsh and other stuff. So yeah, my kids are a quarter, and then half just like white mutt.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's an interesting discussion maybe for another time, just bringing her background, your background, your traditions, her traditions, what's important, what's not. And
yeah,
because the mixed conversation, man, is such a layered one. And
absolutely. Yeah, so complicated.
most of the people that have been on the show are mixed or in some cases like an international adoptee. So it's a very tough, and I was always trying to figure out this, trying to make the between culture existence, reframing it as an advantage instead of a disadvantage, which is what it always felt like.
Yeah,
I just felt like I wasn't belonging anywhere, but trying to reframe it as like I'm getting a view of both cultures that either one respectively might not be getting.
Yeah. Well, plus as we talked about the third culture kid stuff. I mean, another gift it gives you is you can move in and out of a lot of populations and adapt very quickly to each one.
Yes.
And that's actually, and you can apprehend a lot of different perspectives more easily than somebody who's never had to experience the kind of the drifting that we've had, Yeah. So yeah, that's a huge strength, I think.
Well, I mean, and a good example of that is I interviewed Dr. Beverly Jacobs, who's this woman from Canada who's done nothing but work with missing and murdered Indigenous women, and she worked with Amnesty International and done these different things, and she's talked to Parliament and just been at this really high operating level of this crisis and very well spoken. And then a couple days later, I'm sitting in the basement of a dive bar interviewing this heavy metal drummer who's painting his face all crazy and being able to just completely slip in and out of both of those conversations and knowing like, I mean, there's a little bit of code switching going on.
Totally.
Like there's a little bit of me kind of like, all right, I'm going to crank the hood up a little bit on this, but I'm going to tamp it down a little bit when I speak to her and then still be able to be genuine with both of them.
Yeah, exactly. That's a huge gift, man. I mean, that means basically everyone on the planet you can connect with, and very few people can actually do that. Yeah.
And there's a large part of me that's an introvert too, which is a weird. There's a large part of me that doesn't like people at all, but
yeah,
I think that's the general people, not individuals. But yeah, and then the last question, what kind of things are making you hopeful in the world right now? Either in your life or your kid's life or what you're seeing?
I think it's easy to get jaded and skeptical, and humans psychologically were better at recognizing threat than opportunity. And this goes from the caveman days. If you hear a noise outside the cave, the consequences are more severe if it's a saber-toothed tiger than if it's not, Right. And so we tend to be a very cautious species. And pain gets our attention a lot more than pleasure does, and so we tend to focus on threat, which is why every news program ever just talks about threat through the whole program. It's because they're not in the news business, they're in the advertising business, right?
Right.
So the more ratings they get, and they can't get ratings by showing good stories the whole time, because biologically we tune into threat. So I'm going on this weird little philosophical tangent to say that uh, I tend to be skeptical and discouraged and withdraw from the world. But I think that's a philosophical mistake, because there's a lot of good in the world. I'm just not wired to see it. And so for me, it's a discipline to make sure I'm actually seeing the world as it is. And when I do that, I realize that the world isn't the algorithm. The world isn't whatever I see, pop up on a news channel. The world is amazing and beautiful things. It's it's having daughters that love me. It's having a wife that's still with me for whatever reason.
Yeah.
It's being in a church and seeing all kinds of different people in the same room and involved in each other's lives and helping each other out.
Yeah.
Like this week earlier, two people who would not be friends if it wasn't for having the same religion. Jesus unites a lot of weird, different people. But one person took the other person to the hospital because they find out they needed a ride because the person who was going to take them had a medical emergency. And that's a beautiful thing. And those little stories happen all the time in church, where people just help each other. And humans are one of the few species that we associate with people outside of our kinship group. Like a pack of wolves are related, a hive of ants, they're all related.
Yeah.
But it's amazing we can all sit in the same room without killing each other. And then it's more amazing that people really do want to help each other. And I see this happen on small levels and large scales. The abundance in the world, we tend to focus on the inequality. But I mean, it's amazing that as a poor kid, when I was poor, I was a chubby poor kid. I remember being 128 pounds in 7th grade, and I was not tall. I had not hit puberty yet.
Yeah.
And so the abundance we live in and the continuing abundance that's accumulating, I'm not saying the world doesn't have problems, but I'm disciplined and I step away from just focusing on those problems and I see the world as it is. Things are actually pretty damn good right now. I mean, I can control the weather inside my house.
Right.
I mean, the whole year, whatever cuisine I want, I get on my phone and I have it. Like kings of old couldn't do either of those things.
Right.
Like we just have it so good. And then I was lucky to grow up in a time where men could be connected to the children,
Right.
they could have relationships with them, and we get to do that. So yeah, man, I think things that make me hopeful is on the kind of the cosmic scale. From a faith perspective, I think God really does love his creation, and he's moving it all towards good things. And I think one day there'll be a culmination where everything is made new and everything is made beautiful again the way it should be. So I think when I grew up, I thought that the world was against me, and I had a lot of learned helplessness. But now I really believe that God's got this conspiracy going where he's moving everything towards a beautiful future. And I see that in the abundance that the world is increasingly moving towards. Again, I'm not saying there's not problems and threats, but I'm saying that we've been deceived and deluded into exaggerating the threats. And so as a result, we don't see a lot of the wonderful things that are happening on a global scale. And sociologists have the data. Like it's objectively true that people have more, that happiness levels are higher, that violence and wars are less, that world hunger is less, that disease is far less. I mean, things are just objectively better on most markers of quality of life than they've ever been on a global scale by a long shot.
Yeah.
So that's just the science of it. So that encourages me. And on the local scale, my little world, I see people who shouldn't really be helping each other, caring for each other. And then in my own personal little world, I have a life that's way better than I deserve. And so I'm just super grateful for that. And I love my kids. I love reconnecting with, my homies like you.
Yeah.
It's just It's actually an amazing time to be alive. So my tendency is towards nihilism, hating people, hating the world, being jaded and skeptical, and just trying to find a way to burn it all down. But that's hard to pull off when you look at the world as it actually is. Like it's actually ugly, but also a beautiful, wonderful place.
Yeah,
I think there's good reason to hope.
for sure. Yeah, that's well put. The world is not the algorithm. The guest I had this morning is in Colorado, and a couple of years ago they had these crazy fires down there, and somebody in the Lakota tribe was saying like, this wasn't a wildfire, this was a wake up. And what you were saying about how the world that is moving towards this beautiful space potentially, and my thought was like, God, I hope we don't have to burn it down first.
Yeah.
Like that makes me real sad. But like but if that's what's supposed to happen, then I don't know. But and I told her how my tribe used to do like these controlled burns where they had to burn the old growth for new stuff to grow, and they start a fire basically to contain the fire. And that was that's the very literal use of the fire within the tribe, but it speaks to the metaphorical version as well, where so I appreciate what you're saying, but I'm like, oh God, don't make us burn it down first. Like Jay's only 7. Don't drop this big pile of shit on his generation. But I also think each generation deals with the bullshit that the previous generation left them.
Yeah.
And I don't think I'm going to get to a point where Jay's an adult and is like, what were you guys doing, dude? Like, why did you leave this big mess behind? And we're going to be like, we were trying. Like, it wasn't us. Like, I don't know.
It's also kind of the law of the world that every generation thinks they're smarter than the one that came before them and wiser than the one that comes after them.
Yeah.
There's kind of a generational arrogance. And you read history, and basically every generation is supposed to be the last generation, like for one reason or another. And it just turns out our kids are a lot tougher than we give them credit for, and a lot more intelligent and a lot more good. I think there might be a time when humans go extinct, but it's not going to be with my kids or my grandkids or my great grandkids. It'll be way down the line.
Yeah.
And humans are just tough and resilient, and we figure stuff out. I mean, we're terrible animals too, but we're this weird combination of angel and ape, But so far we figured it out every generation. And I think, I have my theories about why people choose fear. There's psychological payoffs for that. But things are actually pretty damn good, and they're looking up, and our kids are going to have a pretty beautiful world, not without its problems, of course. But I think my hope ultimately stems from, of course, my religious faith, but also I think our kids are more capable than we give them credit for.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. They just have to, I think, get out of their own way. But that's any of us. Okay.
I was Gen X, and you remember what boomers were saying about Gen Xers and older millennials.
Oh yeah, slackers. Yeah, bunch of slackers. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Like they couldn't think we'd ever hold down a job for a month.
Right. Yeah.
And we figured it out.
Yeah. Yeah. It's everything just changes, and we adapt to it. And I can get worried and buy into the hype, but most of these kids are pretty good kids, and I don't know. I think they're going to be teaching us stuff. They already do, and I'm reserved hopeful because I am kind of stuck in the algorithm, and there is scary stuff happening out there, but I'm also in an echo chamber, and I'm seeing the stuff that I already believe, and I'm not getting another perspective. And it's really easy to think that's just the way things are. And I think that's a problem a lot of people are having right now.
Absolutely.
And
you know, what we pay attention to is literally our world. Like that's what exists to us. And
yeah,
so if we're brain riding on our phones and the algorithm's showing a certain kind of world, we think that's actually the world. And it takes discipline to just touch grass and look around for a little bit.
yeah,
And when we do that, I think there's plenty of reason to hope.
yeah, for sure. Well, man, it's been so good catching up with you.
I appreciate you chatting with me and giving me the time. It's been awesome.
Yeah, dude. It's always like years in between, but you're one of the friends that I have. It's like there's never any time lost.
Totally.
Like
Yeah, I feel the same way.
we don't have to dance around and then do some kind of weird, you know, 20 questions thing. It's just like it's familiar and it's fun and it's always thought provoking, and I always feel better after. And I was thinking probably the last time I talked to you is when I was going through it at my old house, and and I was like, man, that's kind of a drag. Like the last time I talked to him was when I was in the middle of some shit and needed some kind of whatever. And I mean, really, I think it was a third party is what I needed. And,
Yeah.
but yeah, man. And yeah, it's just good to talk to you, man. And your insight's always so valuable. And it comes from a perspective that I'm not familiar with, but it's also very fair. And that's what I've always appreciated about talking to you in particular, is because the weird church people I avoid, you is one, and you don't make it you don't make it weird, you make it relatable. And you've always sort of been very intentional with what you're saying and pointing out if there's something that's off, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So is there any socials or anything like that you want to share? Like are your sermons still on YouTube and all
yeah,
that?
people can pretty much just type in my name, Kenji Nitta, KenjiNitta, and I'm on most things. YouTube, I got the Facebooks, the Instagram, they're all going on. So yeah. I don't really have a brand, but if people can benefit from my work and the things I do, I'm happy to have them connected.
Yeah, and if you're out there looking for a reverend that does tattoos and rides a motorcycle and does jujitsu and might swear every once in a while, and then I think this is your guy. He's walking with us,
I have a funny story. My before we wrap up, my cousin sent me an email and she said, my pastor said, if I cuss, I'm going to hell. Is that true? And my response was just, nope, that's bullshit.
Forward this email to him.
Yeah.
That's funny, man. Well, yeah, man. It's thank you for giving up part of your day, man. I know you're a busy guy. Yeah, I just appreciate talking to you, man. And thanks for you are helping me further move towards what I want in life. And every single one of these episodes, I get stuff out of them, but it's also it's for other people to hear and get something out of. And it's a podcast about storytelling, really, at its root.
Yeah.
And the people that have a story and finally have a place to share it is really what I like about it. And but it's moving me in the direction I want to go, which is away from the forklift. It's into, there's a creativity that I was given.
Yeah.
And it's always been there. And there's nothing wrong with driving a forklift. I've been doing it for a long time. But I'm underselling my abilities a little bit. And I've been playing it safe. And I think I'm ready to move on. And I've been walking on concrete floors for 25 years, dude. I'm tired.
Yeah.
So
it adds up, huh?
It does, yeah. So yeah, you, in addition to the great conversation, you're helping me move towards what I want to move towards. And, I'm so grateful for it. And I'm so grateful that you would give me a couple hours of your day, to help me get there.
So I'm glad you're in the game, brother, because you're smart. You're a great conversationalist. You are creative. And I really believe everybody's important and I can learn from everybody, and so the fact that you get to do this so people can see important people and learn things, I think it's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
So never stop.
All right. Appreciate it, man. I'll talk to you later.
All right, brother. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.